Hi everyone, welcome back to KnitTales. I'm Larissa, and today, in our final episode, we'll be wrapping up Love, Latte, and Law. Here is the link to the first episode if you missed it. You can also find it in the description. As we listen to the last chapters, I'll be knitting a snood for my husband, tying together the warmth of crafting with the finale of our story. So, grab your knitting needles and a cozy spot as we bid farewell to this charming tale. Let's cherish these last moments of knitting and listening together, ready for the final stitches of both yarn and plot. Let's dive in. Chapter 10, Stirring Emotions. The days in the small town passed, each one drawing Sarah and Jake closer in a dance of growing affection and shared purpose. The coffee shop, once a symbol of Sarah's new beginning, now witnessed the blossoming of something more profound between them. In the midst of the ongoing dispute, Jake became a constant in Sarah's life. He was there when the shop opened, often with a gentle tease to start her day. He was there when it closed, helping her clean up, their hands occasionally brushing, sending sparks of unspoken emotions through the air. One evening, as the autumn sky painted itself in shades of pink and orange, Sarah found herself alone with Jake, the shop quiet after another day of strategizing and community meetings. They sat at a small table by the window, 2 cups of coffee growing cold between them. The conversation flowed effortlessly, a comfortable rhythm they had fallen into. Jake's eyes held a warmth that made Sarah's heart flutter. "You know," he began, his voice soft, "I've seen a lot of people come and go in this town. But you, Sarah, you're different. You've changed this place for the better." Sarah felt a blush creep up her cheeks. "I couldn't have done any of it without you, Jake. You've been—" Her voice trailed off, searching for the right words. "Been what?" Jake prompted, leaning in, his gaze fixed on her. "A friend," Sarah said, but even as she spoke, she knew it was more than that. There was a connection between them, an unspoken bond that had grown stronger with each passing day. The air around them was charged with emotion, a current that neither could deny. Jake reached across the table, taking her hand in his. Sarah's breath caught at the contact, her skin tingling where he touched. "Sarah, Jake began, but words seemed unnecessary. In that moment, as their eyes locked, everything was said in the silence. He leaned closer, and Sarah found herself moving to meet him. Their kiss was tentative at first, a gentle exploration. But as they drew back, their eyes searching each other's, there was a mutual understanding. This was the beginning of something beautiful. The world outside the coffee shop faded away, leaving only the two of them, wrapped in the warmth of a connection that had grown from friendship into something deeper. It was a moment of vulnerability, of opening their hearts to the possibilities that lay ahead. As they parted, their hands still linked, there was a sense of rightness, a feeling that this was just the start of a journey they would take together. The emotions stirring within them were a blend of excitement, hope, and a deep, resonating affection that promised more to come. Chapter 11, The Community's Fight. The atmosphere in the small town was charged with a collective resolve as the day of the courtroom battle approached. Sarah, at the heart of the movement, felt the weight and support of the entire community on her shoulders. Beans of Justice had become more than a cafe. It was the headquarters where strategies were formed and spirits were lifted. Sarah worked tirelessly, her legal expertise now a beacon of hope for the townsfolk. She pored over documents, prepared statements, and organized legal defenses with meticulous attention to detail. The coffee shop buzzed with activity, volunteers streaming in and out, each person contributing in their own way to the cause. The community's support for Sarah was unwavering. Local businesses offered resources, from printing services for flyers to snacks and refreshments for volunteers. Evenings at the shop were filled with discussions and planning sessions where Sarah's ability to clearly articulate complex legal points brought clarity and direction to their efforts. Jake was ever present, offering not just his emotional support, but also using his local knowledge and connections to rally more support. His belief in Sarah's abilities and the righteousness of their cause was a constant source of encouragement for her. Eleanor too played her part, sharing wisdom and insights that only years of life experience could bestow. She reminded Sarah and the others of the town's history, its values, and the importance of standing together in the face of adversity. As the court date loomed closer, a sense of unity and determination enveloped the town. People who had never before engaged in community affairs stepped forward, inspired by Sarah's leadership and the collective need to preserve the integrity of their home. Local media outlets began to cover the story, drawn by the David versus Goliath nature of the town's fight against a corporate giant. Sarah found herself at the forefront of this coverage, her articulate and passionate defense of the town's rights, making her a local figure of admiration. The night before the court hearing, a candlelit vigil was held in the town square. Members of the community gathered, sharing stories, songs, and words of encouragement. Sarah looked around at the sea of faces lit by the soft glow of candles and felt a profound connection to these people and this place. They were no longer just neighbors or customers. They were her family, her community. As she went to bed that night, Sarah felt a mix of nervousness and determination. The next day would be a pivotal moment in the town's history, and she was at its center. But she wasn't alone. She had an entire town standing with her, ready to fight for their home. Chapter 12. Justice Served. The day of the court hearing dawned clear and bright, a stark contrast to the storm of emotions brewing in Sarah's heart. As she walked into the courtroom, the gravity of the moment settled upon her. This was where the future of the town would be decided. The courtroom was packed, a sea of familiar faces from the town. Their presence was a silent show of solidarity, their anxious expressions mirroring Sarah's own internal turmoil. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. This was the moment she had prepared for, poring over legal texts and strategies, fueled by the trust and hope of her community. Sarah's opposition was a team of high-powered lawyers representing the corporation behind the development project. They exuded confidence, their suits and briefcases symbols of the corporate world Sarah had once been a part of. As the proceedings began, Sarah found her resolve. She listened intently to the opposing counsel, their arguments polished but lacking the genuine concern for the community that Sarah's case held. When it was her turn to speak, Sarah stood, her voice clear and steady. She spoke not just as a lawyer, but as a member of the community, her words resonating with the passion and conviction she felt for the town's cause. She laid out the case with precision and clarity, highlighting the detrimental impact the development project would have on the town's character and economy. Her arguments were backed by facts and heartfelt testimonials from townspeople. She painted a picture of a community that thrived on its small businesses, its local charm, and its close-knit relationships, things that would be irrevocably lost if the development went ahead. The courtroom was silent as she spoke, her words echoing off the walls. Sarah's newfound confidence was palpable, a far cry from the nervousness that had gripped her on her first day at the coffee shop. As the judge called the court to order for the verdict, a hush fell over the room. The moment of truth had arrived. In a decision that seemed to echo the collective heartbeat of the town, the judge ruled in favor of Sarah and the community. The development project was to be halted, the preservation of the town's character deemed more important than corporate interests. A cheer erupted from the public gallery, a wave of relief and joy washing over the room. Sarah's heart swelled with pride and gratitude. They had won against all odds. As she exited the courtroom, Sarah was met with applause and tears of joy from her fellow townspeople. They surrounded her, their faces beaming with pride and admiration. In that moment, Sarah realized the depth of her impact. She had not only defended their town, but had also earned a newfound respect and a permanent place in the hearts of its people. The victory was more than a legal triumph. It was a testament to the power of community, the strength of shared values, and the unyielding spirit of a small town. And at the center of it all was Sarah, no longer just a newcomer, but a cherished and integral member of the town she had grown to love. Chapter 13. Knitting Hearts. In the golden aftermath of their hard-won victory, the town congregated at Beans of Justice, the very place that had nurtured their fight and fostered their unity. The coffee shop, with its warm lights and inviting aroma, was abuzz with jubilation and relief. It was more than a celebration. It was a collective exhale, a moment of shared triumph and reflection. The shop was adorned with handmade decorations, courtesy of the local craft group, adding a personal touch to the celebration. The tables were laden with an array of baked goods and snacks, contributions from various townspeople, each dish carrying the flavor of the town's spirit. As Sarah moved through the crowd, she was enveloped in a stream of congratulations and warm embraces. The town's elderly, who had watched her grow into her role, patted her back with pride. The children who had turned the coffee shop into an after-school haven looked up at her with wide-eyed admiration. Her heart swelled at the sight of their beaming faces, their laughter, a melody that filled the room. Jake was by her side, his presence a constant source of support. They shared knowing smiles and quiet conversations amidst the festivities. Their bond deepened not just by their growing affection, but also by the journey they had weathered together. Eleanor, ever the matriarch, moved through the crowd, her eyes twinkling with delight. She shared anecdotes from the town's past, drawing parallels to their recent struggle, her stories weaving the present victory into the rich tapestry of the town's history. As the evening progressed, Sarah stood up to address the gathering. The room hushed, all eyes on her. With heartfelt words, she spoke of the journey they had undertaken together. She talked about the strength they had drawn from each other, the importance of standing up for what was right, and the unbreakable bond they had formed in the process. "There's something special about this town," Sarah said, her voice brimming with emotion. "It's more than just a place, it's a family, and like in any family, it's our hearts that hold us together." The room erupted in cheers, the sentiment resonating with everyone present. The celebration continued into the night, a tapestry of laughter, music, and shared stories. It was a night to remember, a night when the hearts of a small town knit together in unison, strengthened by the challenges they had overcome and the future they had secured. As the last guests departed and the lights dimmed, Sarah looked around the shop, a sense of peace and fulfillment washing over her. This journey had started with a simple dream of a coffee shop, but it had blossomed into something far greater, a deep and enduring connection with a community that had become her home. Chapter 14. A new chapter. In the quiet aftermath of the celebration, as beams of justice stood bathed in the soft glow of the early morning sun, Sarah and Jake found a moment of tranquility amidst the whirlwind of recent events. They sat together at a small table by the window, their hands entwined, both reflective and anticipatory about the future. "Sarah," Jake began, his voice tinged with a mixture of seriousness and warmth. "After everything that's happened, I've been thinking a lot about us, about this town, and about what the future holds." Sarah looked into Jake's eyes, seeing in them a reflection of her own thoughts and feelings. "I know, Jake, this town, this coffee shop, the people here, they've all become a part of me in ways I never expected." Jake squeezed her hand gently. "I feel the same way. This place, this community, it's where I belong. And I can't imagine being here without you by my side. What we've shared, what we've built together, it's something special." Sarah's heart fluttered with a mixture of joy and a deep sense of belonging. "I never thought I'd find such a connection, not just with the place, but with someone who understands me so well. You've become such an important part of my life, Jake." Their conversation meandered through dreams and possibilities. They spoke of expanding beams of justice, of using it as a platform to further contribute to the community, of maybe even starting a series of community workshops or local art exhibitions. As they talked, Sarah realized how deeply she had rooted herself in the town. It was no longer just a retreat from her past life. It had become her present and her future. The town, with its unique charm and close-knit community, had embraced her, and she, in turn, had embraced it wholeheartedly. Sarah's journey had come full circle. She had left behind a life in pursuit of something more fulfilling, and now she had found it in this small town with its simple joys and the genuine connections she had formed. And in Jake, she had found a partner, someone who shared her values, her passions, and her dreams. As they stood up to start the day, their conversation still lingering in the air, they knew they were at the beginning of a new chapter. Together, they stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever the future held, knowing that they had each other and the support of a town that had become their home. Chapter 15. Heartfelt Harmony. The days in the small town took on a serene rhythm, echoing the newfound harmony that had blossomed both in Sarah's life and in the community. The once looming threat of the development project was now a chapter of the past, its resolution bringing a sense of peace and unity to the townspeople. Sarah, once an outsider looking in, found herself at the heart of this community. Her journey from a high-powered lawyer to a beloved coffee shop owner and town advocate had been a path of self-discovery and fulfillment. The town, with its quaint streets and warm-hearted residents, was no longer just a place she lived. It was a part of her, a tapestry woven into the fabric of her being. The personal conflicts that had once clouded her mind, doubts about leaving her career, uncertainties about her future, had dissipated. In their place was a deep sense of contentment and purpose. She had not only found a new life, but had also discovered a stronger, more resilient version of herself. Beams of Justice continued to be the hub of the community, a place where people came not just for coffee, but for companionship, support, and a sense of belonging. The walls of the shop, adorned with local art and photographs of town events, told the story of a community that had come together in the face of adversity and emerged stronger. Sarah's relationship with Jake had grown into a beautiful partnership, both in life and in their shared endeavors. Together, They launched community initiatives, blending their talents and passions to bring new life and energy to the town. Their love was a quiet, steady flame that illuminated both their lives and those around them. The townsfolk, who had once viewed Sarah with curiosity and caution, now looked up to her with respect and affection. She was a friend, a confidant, and a leader in her own right. Her advice was sought in town meetings, her participation in local events was cherished, and her presence at Beans of Justice was a source of comfort and joy to many. As the season turned and leaves began to paint the town in hues of red and gold, Sarah took a moment to reflect on her journey. From the bustling streets of New York to the serene lanes of this small town, her life had taken turns she never could have imagined. But each turn had led her to this point, to a life filled with heartfelt harmony, a balance between her personal desires and her role in the community. Sarah's story was a testament to the power of change, the beauty of embracing the unknown, and the joy of finding one's place in the world. In this small town, amidst the people who had become her family, Sarah had found her harmony, a melody that resonated with love, community, and a sense of true belonging. Epilogue. Under the same stars. A year had woven its passage through the lives of the townspeople and the walls of Beans of Justice. The coffee shop, once a new venture in a quiet town, now stood as a beloved landmark, its story intertwined with the heartbeat of the community. The evening breeze gently nudged the chimes hanging at the entrance of the shop, creating a melody that had become a familiar part of the townscape. Inside, Sarah wiped down the counter, her movements reflecting a contentment born from a year of challenges turned into triumphs. Beans of Justice had evolved into more than just a coffee shop. It was a place where art exhibitions from local artists adorned the walls, where book clubs gathered to dissect the latest bestseller, and where lively discussions on town matters were as common as the clatter of coffee cups. Over the year, Sarah had grown into her role as not just a business owner, but a community leader. Her relationship with the townspeople had deepened. Their initial curiosity about the big city lawyer turned coffee shop owner, transforming into a profound respect and affection. Her journey with Jake had been one of the most beautiful aspects of her new life. Together, they had become a formidable team, their shared love for the town and its people driving them to initiate projects that brought new energy to the community. They had recently started a weekend farmers market, which had quickly become a town favorite, bustling with activity and laughter. As Sarah locked up for the night, she paused to look at the stars that twinkled above. They were the same stars under which she had dared to dream of a different life. Now they shone over a world she had made her own, a world where every face was familiar, every story was cherished, and every day brought a new reason to smile. Walking home, she thought about the future. There were plans to renovate an old building into a community center, a project she and Jake were leading. It was an exciting prospect, filled with potential to further enrich the town's social fabric. As she reached her doorstep, Jake was there waiting, his presence a reassuring constant in her life. Together they looked up at the night sky, the stars witnessing the quiet strength of their bond and the unwavering spirit of their love. "Another day in our little paradise," Jake said, his arm wrapped around her. Sarah smiled, leaning into him. "Yes, and many more to come. Who knew that under these same stars we'd find not just a home, but a whole new world of adventures?" In that moment, under the vast expanse of the night sky, Sarah's heart was full. She had found her place in the world, a place where her past and present merged into a future bright with promise. Beans of Justice was not just a coffee shop. It was the starting point of a life rich with meaning, community, and love. A life that unfolded under the same stars that shone down on them now. And that brings us to the end of Love, Latte, and Law and our special knitting journey together. Thank you for joining me in these cozy sessions. Our story reaches its heartwarming conclusion. I hope you've enjoyed knitting and listening as much as I have. Remember to subscribe for more KnitTales adventures and share your own knitting stories in the comments. Until next time, keep those needles clicking and your hearts open to new stories.